Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. And let's start with first story, titled, Company car I was driving was hit by a drunk driver. Insurance fully paid for the car, but the company says I still owe them $40,000. I was on my way home from work in my company car when I was almost hit head-on by a drunk driver. He was found at fault by the police and the insurance company and was charged and convicted. His insurance settled with the company and gave them a payout to replace the car, which the company lawyer accepted. I'm still off work recovering from my injuries, and I probably won't be back for 3 more months. Last month, I received a letter from the company stating that I owed them the cost of the car because I was the one responsible for it when it was totaled and written off. I thought it was a mistake or something, so I called the insurance company, got written confirmation of the settlement, and sent it to them with a note that the car had already been paid for by the insurance company. Now they have sent me to a collection agency, and I have debt collectors calling saying I owe $40,000. I live in California. Do I call the insurance company to let them know, or do I need to get a lawyer? Is them calling the debt collector even legal? Sorry if these questions are stupid, but I'm already stressed enough from trying to recover, and this has just made it worse. Give your employer and insurance company a call to see if they can sort this out quickly. If you're not getting anywhere, reach out to a lawyer. Don't wait too long to handle it. And now to the update. No one at the company or the collections agency would help me, and they just sent me back and forth. Company told me to talk to collections, collections told me to talk to the company, so I ended up getting a lawyer because the stress of being hounded by collections was setting back my recovery. The lawyer sent a very strongly worded letter to someone high up that I couldn't reach myself because I kept getting the runaround. That person didn't know anything about it, and the company launched an investigation. The 3 people who kept giving me the runaround ended up being charged with fraud and a bunch of other stuff. I don't know much, but the police say they have emails, and they think the 3 were planning on keeping the payment for themselves since the company was already paid. They are also in trouble for fraudulently using company resources to send me to collections for a fake debt. Afterward, my company wrote me a letter of apology. They paid the costs for my lawyer and made sure the debt was removed from my record. They also made a donation to a charity of my choice. I am nearly ready to return to work, but they told me to take as much time as I need. After talking with the police, I believe the higher-ups were not aware because the police say the 3 were trying to keep it a secret. The drunk driver's insurance is paying all my bills related to the incident, so I won't have debt from this ever. All in all, I'm doing much better. I would like to thank r/legal advice and everyone who offered advice and encouragement and sent me supportive messages. You were all so helpful, and I appreciate it. Did they seriously think they could just get 40 grand from someone that easy? Scammers are so dumb. And next, the second story, titled, My wife, 24 female, hid that she can't have kids, and I, 27 male, just found out after 6 years together. I don't know what to do. My wife and I have been together for 6 years and married for 3. We've built a happy marriage and a stable and comfortable life. Once everything felt settled, we decided to start a family. From the very beginning, I was clear about wanting a big family, 4 or 5 kids, and she always said she was on board. After a year of trying with no success, I got myself checked, and everything came back fine. That's when she sat me down for a serious talk. She finally told me that before we got together, she had a medical procedure due to some health issues, and she's known this entire time that her chances of getting pregnant were negligible. I just went numb. Everything after that felt like a blur. She broke down crying and apologized over and over. I couldn't process it. I just left despite her begging me to stay and talk. It's been 3 days. I've just been drifting around the city and staying with my sister. After a nonstop barrage of calls and messages from my wife, I snapped and destroyed my phone to get some peace. So no contact for 3 days. My sister went to our place to grab some work stuff for me and said my wife is completely shattered. She kept begging my sister to convince me to come home and talk to her. I don't know what to do. I don't even know what hurts more, her hiding it from me all these years, letting me believe we had a real chance, or the fact that I still can't bring myself to hate her. My mind keeps spiraling and I don't feel ready to face her or talk about it. I just feel lost. What should I do? I get why you're feeling betrayed. She shouldn't have hidden this from you, but hear her out before doing anything. And now to the update. I posted the first one from my laptop while working, just venting everything I felt at the moment. I think it came off one-sided, so I want to give more context and clear up a few things people kept asking. Sorry if this isn't super coherent. Some context about her I already knew. She's an only child. Her family lived paycheck to paycheck. Her mom left when she was 13, and her dad raised her alone. He later turned alcoholic and abusive. When we met around 18, she already had anxiety, abandonment, and trust issues. Her dad died when she was 19. Early in our relationship, I helped her get some therapy however I could, and she leaned on me for everything. After her dad passed, I moved her in, and my family became hers. A lot of you told me to face it, and my mom also called saying the same. So the next morning I went home. She was a mess, and the house too. When she saw me, she just froze for a second, then broke down and came to me crying and apologizing. I got her to sit down and calm, made something for us, and we finally talked. The part she'd hidden, when she was 16, she had surgery to remove a cyst in her ovary. There were complications that caused internal scarring, and doctors told her a toned-down version of natural pregnancy was extremely unlikely. That surgery put her dad into debt. Later, he spiraled into alcohol, stopped coming home, blamed her for being damaged goods like her mom, always screwing up his life, and started harassing her. That messed her up. She never had a checkup after that. Before we met, she was broke and barely coping with everything. After we got together, she said she didn't have the courage to find out more, scared of what she might hear, and terrified of losing me if I found out. She hoped for a miracle after reading stories of women getting pregnant despite similar issues. Everything fell apart when I brought up getting checked. I got myself checked secretly just to be sure, so I wouldn't stress her unnecessarily. Upon hearing her out, I lost my cool and went off on her for hiding something so serious. I told her I needed space and asked her to stay with my parents for a while so I could think clearly. She broke down, begged me not to leave, and said she'd do anything to make it work. I dropped her off at my parents' place. By day 2, I realized I genuinely missed her. The house felt empty without her. I brought her back home. What she did hurt me deeply, but I realized I couldn't just throw her away like some of you said, because I still love her. We're not talking much right now. I'm still processing it all, taking one step at a time. Many pointed out that if she hid something this serious, she could be hiding more. Honestly, that makes me uneasy. She's still carrying trauma, thinking she's somehow to blame for her dad's drinking and death. If her ovaries are still intact, they could still have a baby through IVF or another method, given how far medical technology has come. And next, the third story. Am I the a-hole for expecting to be invited to the wedding? I had a friend from a previous job get engaged and asked me for a favor. I left that previous job to work at an upscale hotel. She asked me to get her and her bridesmaids discounted hotel rooms. I was able to swing about 10 suites for a very decent price compared to what they would normally sell for. Now her and I weren't as close since I left the previous job we both worked at, but we would text frequently. Just couldn't see each other due to conflicting work schedules. The timeline was honestly pretty rushed. She was engaged and was soon to get married less than 2 months later. The whole thing was expedited since her fiancé was in the military and soon to be on deployment. The way she said it is, she couldn't accompany him unless they were married. Her and I were talking, and I had asked what the theme was for the wedding so I knew what to wear. She awkwardly said I wasn't invited. I was surprised I wasn't invited out of at least courtesy for doing her a favor with the wedding block. She said she just couldn't afford to include anyone else. It wasn't a small venue either. Her invite list alone, not including the grooms, was over 100, varying from close family, friends, and very distant relatives. I let her know I didn't understand, since it was such a large, lavish event, how she couldn't squeeze one more person. She said it was impossible, and they were at the top of their budget. I said if that was the case, then they would need to find other accommodations for their wedding, as I was giving them an extreme discounted rate due to our friendship. Now the bridesmaids are calling me an a-hole for canceling their rooms. Am I the a-hole? TLDR. I canceled my friend's wedding block since I wasn't invited. In the comments, someone asked OP, please elaborate on a very decent price compared to what they would normally sell for. Don't hotels commonly give discounts for groups, friends, or no friends? Also, how long ago did you work with her? You say you guys weren't as close anymore. OP replied with, we worked together for 2 years prior to my switching occupations. Suites were less than $100 a night when they would normally sell for about $500+. We hadn't worked together for a year, but we would text and hang out whenever it was someone's birthday or a group gathering. Random people don't get your employee perks. Friends and family, sure. But she made it obvious you're not one of them. So why bother? And the update. Wedding still continued on as planned. From what I heard, she ended up having the bridesmaids fundraise their own money for the hotel rooms. A couple of them shared rooms, which was not the original plan. It was at a neighboring competitive hotel, so I heard word of mouth from the managers over there. A couple months later, she moved with her husband and we had no reason to reconnect. We both moved on. Sorry for no happy ending on this one. This is actually a happy ending. And the fourth story, am I the a-hole for expecting my sister to finally pay me back for her wedding 5 years later? I, 32 female, am still so frustrated over this, and honestly, I need some outside perspective. 5 years ago, my sister, 30 female, got married and was struggling financially at the time. I stepped in to help and ended up covering a big chunk of her wedding costs, the venue deposit, catering, and decorations. We agreed she'd pay me back once she got on her feet, and I trusted her. But every time I brought it up over the years, she'd brush it off with things like, "Don't worry about it," or "You were such a big help, just think of it as my gift from you." I didn't want to start a family drama, so I let it slide, but it's always bothered me. Fast forward to last week, she calls, asking if I can help her with a down payment for a new house. The amount she needs? Pretty much the same as what she still owes me. I told her I'd be willing to help, but only after she pays me back for the wedding first. She got defensive immediately, saying it's been so long, and that I'm being unfair for holding it over her head. She insists she thought I had just gifted her the money. Now she's not speaking to me, and even my parents are trying to convince me to let it go for the sake of peace. But it feels like she's been taking advantage of my kindness for years, and I'm tired of pretending it's fine. So am I the a-hole for expecting her to pay me back after all this time? Or is she just avoiding accountability? In the comments, someone shared his story. I loaned my brother money to buy a trailer. Years later, due to divorce, I was living with my parents and 3 kids, using food stamps and welfare to get on my feet again. I asked him if he could pay me back. He looked at me as if I was a piece of crap and said, "No way, I don't have that kind of money." Whether he did or didn't, it was his attitude that cut deep. I think I've spoken to him 3 times since then, 30 years ago. Never lend money to family unless you're okay with never seeing it again. Even with paperwork, it's usually a struggle to get it back. And now to the update. So, here's what happened after I posted. A few days later, my sister texted me out of the blue with this passive-aggressive message saying, "I hope you're happy. Mom's upset because we're fighting again. Money shouldn't come between family." I replied calmly that money isn't what's between us. It's her lack of honesty and accountability. She didn't like that. That night, she called me and launched into this emotional guilt trip about how hard things have been for her, how she and her husband are trying their best, and how it's just money. I told her point blank, "It's not just money, it's about respect. You promised to pay me back and you never did." Then I said something I'd been holding in for years. "You only remember I exist when you need something." There was a long silence. Then she hung up. Cue my parents stepping in. My mom called saying I'm creating division and that family doesn't keep score. My dad was more neutral, but admitted that my sister does have a history of forgetting her debts. Apparently, she's borrowed from him too. Here's where things really turned. My brother-in-law actually reached out to me privately. He apologized, said he didn't realize I'd paid for so much of the wedding and that my sister had downplayed it as a small loan. He told me he'd talk to her about making things right. 2 days later, I got a transfer for exactly half the amount she owes me with a message. It's not the full repayment, but it's progress. The real kicker? My sister then posted this cryptic story on Facebook. So yeah, she's still being petty, but I honestly don't even care anymore. I finally stood up for myself, and that feels better than the money ever could. Verdict from me. I'm not the a-hole. I was just tired of being the family ATM with a smile. If this whole thing taught me anything, it's that boundaries don't make you cold. They protect you from being taken advantage of. So now she has the money. At least she got a portion of the money back. And with that, we will wrap up today's video. Dear viewers, don't forget to like and subscribe so you never miss out. See you next time. Bye-bye.